Jax's path to sobriety was not a straight line. It was filled with emotional landmines, unexpected triggers, and the daunting task of unlearning patterns that had been part of his identity for over a decade. For years, his persona thrived on the highs and lows of reality TV drama, much of it fueled by alcohol and bravado. Behind the scenes, however, Jax was wrestling with deeper demons, self-doubt, anger, and the long-term effects of unresolved trauma. He's spoken candidly about the emotional baggage he carried into adulthood, including the loss of his father in 2017, a devastating moment that shook the foundation of his life. Instead of dealing with the grief head-on, he buried it under distraction, parties, nightlife, and self-destructive behavior that only temporarily masked the pain. The birth of Cruz forced a reckoning. Suddenly, there was no more room to hide. Every choice Jax made had a direct impact on another life, and that realization hit with sobering clarity. He remembers the early days of fatherhood vividly, those late-night feedings, the cries in the middle of the night, the joy of watching Cruz smile for the first time. Those moments grounded him. They also exposed the cracks in the way he had been living. He saw the world through his son's eyes and realized that if he didn't change, those same cracks might one day break Cruz's foundation too. Determined to do better, Jax started confronting the uncomfortable truths he had avoided for so long. He dug into therapy, where he began unpacking the roots of his addictive behavior. Sessions revealed patterns from childhood, unresolved grief, and a tendency to equate chaos with comfort. He came to understand that sobriety wasn't a switch to be flipped. It was a layered, ongoing process. On tough days when the urge to drink would creep in, he leaned into the discipline he was building, turning to journaling, mindfulness exercises, and calls to his support network. He also found strength in structure, creating new daily routines centered around his family. Whether it was something as simple as a morning walk with Cruz or making dinner with Brittany, these seemingly small acts helped rewire his sense of purpose. Most importantly, Jax began seeing sobriety not as a limitation, but as freedom, a way to finally live life with clarity. He didn't want to be the dad who was there but not present. He wanted to be fully engaged, emotionally available, and a steady source of support for his son. Sobriety gave him the tools to do just that, and day by day, he's rewriting the legacy he'll pass down. As Jax and Brittany stepped into the world of developmental assessments and therapy sessions, they were met with a complex mix of emotions: grief for the expectations they once held, anxiety about Cruz's future, but also immense gratitude for finally having answers. The diagnosis wasn't a label to them, it was a key that unlocked understanding, support, and the beginning of a new parenting journey that would be unlike anything they had previously imagined. The early days after Cruz's diagnosis were filled with information overload. Suddenly, they were navigating acronyms, medical appointments, individualized education plans, and a whole new vocabulary of neurodiversity. But through it all, Jax and Brittany stood shoulder to shoulder, committed to learning and advocating for their son in every way they could. The couple quickly immersed themselves in research. They read books, attended webinars, and leaned heavily on a growing network of parents who had walked the path before them. For Jax, this process was both humbling and eye-opening. He admitted that, like many people, he had once held misconceptions about what autism looked like. Cruz shattered those assumptions. "It's not a one-size-fits-all diagnosis," Jax shared. "It's a spectrum for a reason. Cruz is unique, and he's teaching us that there's no single definition of normal." Their home life evolved to meet Cruz's needs. They created structured routines that helped provide a sense of security and predictability for him. Visual aids were added around the house to support communication, and special sensory-friendly spaces were designed to give Cruz a safe environment to decompress. Every small milestone, whether it was making eye contact, using new words, or initiating play, was celebrated as a major victory. Jax often describes these moments as the most rewarding part of fatherhood. He no longer measures success by traditional developmental timelines. Instead, he honors progress on Cruz's terms. Therapy became a regular part of their weekly rhythm, with sessions ranging from speech and occupational therapy to behavioral interventions that focused on encouraging communication and emotional regulation. Jax became an active participant, not just a bystander. He made a point to sit in on sessions, ask questions, and implement what they learned at home. He often speaks about how much respect he has gained for educators, therapists, and the autism community at large, people he now sees as critical allies in Cruz's development. What's perhaps most moving is how Cruz's diagnosis has changed the way Jax views the world. He's learned to slow down, to appreciate the small details, and to listen more closely, not just to his son, but to himself. This journey has softened him, grounded him, and given him a deeper sense of purpose. Rather than feel weighed down by the challenges, Jax has found meaning in the day-to-day effort of parenting a neurodivergent child. The love he expresses for Cruz is unshakable and unfiltered. In Cruz, he sees strength, individuality, and a boundless capacity for joy, and he's made it his mission to ensure others see that too. Behind closed doors, the evolution of Jax and Brittany's relationship has been one of the most telling indicators of how far they've come. Theirs is a love story that played out in front of cameras, complete with triumphs, turbulence, and plenty of tabloid speculation. But in the stillness of real life, without the lights and the producers, their partnership has found new depth. The emotional challenges of Jax's sobriety and Cruz's autism diagnosis didn't fracture their bond. Instead, they tested its strength and ultimately helped solidify it. The couple has grown not only as parents but as partners, learning to communicate with more compassion, patience, and purpose. Jax speaks openly about the moments when he felt like giving up, those dark, restless nights where anxiety crept in, or the occasional flash of temptation tried to pull him back toward old habits. In those moments, it was Brittany who reminded him why he started this journey in the first place. Her gentle steadiness, her unwavering belief in his ability to grow, became the compass that helped him navigate some of the most turbulent internal storms. "She never made me feel like I was broken," Jax once said in an interview. "She made me feel like I was worth fixing." And Brittany, in turn, has acknowledged how much Jax has evolved, not just in action, but in spirit. Gone is the man who used to react impulsively, chase instant gratification, and run from difficult conversations. In his place is a partner who listens, shows up, and follows through. Jax has restructured his priorities in a way that makes their family feel safe, grounded, and truly supported. He's traded late nights out for early mornings with Cruz, phone scrolling for quiet family dinners, and impulsivity for intention. Even their arguments, once fiery and often public, now tend to be quieter, more resolved, rooted in mutual respect rather than ego. Friends who have known Jax for years are starting to see a version of him they didn't expect, one who is thoughtful, emotionally aware, and far more present. There's a quietness to his demeanor now, not of defeat but of peace. It's not that the intensity is gone. Jax is still passionate and fiercely protective of his family, but it's now channeled into building something lasting. Brittany has called this transformation the softening of Jax, a man once defined by his edges, now embracing the power of vulnerability. Still, the journey is far from over. Sobriety, as Jax often says, is a daily choice. Some days are easier than others. Triggers still exist: stress, fatigue, even memories of his former lifestyle. But the difference now is in how he responds. Instead of shutting down, he opens up. Instead of reaching for a drink, he reaches for support. Brittany remains his anchor, but Jax has also built a broader system of resilience: regular therapy, reading about addiction and recovery, checking in with other dads facing similar parenting challenges, and staying physically active to manage his mental health. He's learned to celebrate progress over perfection. The journey with Cruz's autism has been equally transformative. Jax has taken on a more active role in not just supporting Cruz, but in becoming a student of his son's world. He reads everything. He can about ASD, asks therapists detailed questions, and continues to adapt his parenting style to meet Cruz where he is. One of the biggest lessons he's learned is that love isn't about fixing, it's about understanding. And when he talks about Cruz now, it's with a kind of reverence. There's no trace of disappointment or frustration, only deep admiration and commitment. He describes Cruz as magnetic, a child with a unique way of engaging with the world, whose spirit teaches him something new every day. This awakening has sparked a broader calling in Jax. The idea of using his platform for something more meaningful has started to take shape. He's seriously exploring the idea of launching a podcast or docuseries, not for attention, but as a space for real talk, conversations about sobriety, fatherhood, mental health, and raising neurodivergent children. He wants to invite people into honest, sometimes uncomfortable discussions, because he believes that's where true connection and healing happen. There's a hunger in him now, not for fame, but for purpose. For helping others who feel isolated, overwhelmed, or unseen. What Jax understands now is that transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were meant to be all along. In stepping away from the noise of celebrity culture and into the raw, unscripted moments of fatherhood and recovery, he's found a version of himself he respects. One who can sit in stillness, who values the mundane routines of daily life, and who feels pride not in being recognized by strangers, but in being trusted by his child. For those who've watched Jax from the beginning, his evolution might seem almost surreal, but it's real, it's hard-won, and it's ongoing. He's not perfect, he never claims to be. But he's present, he's trying. And for the first time in a long time, Jax Taylor is at peace with who he is becoming. In his son's eyes, he sees hope. In his wife's smile, he sees faith. And in himself, he sees the strength to keep going. That, more than any storyline or headline, is the story worth telling.